Moving on to the Boston Celtics. So obviously, they lost Kyrie Irving. They kind of knew that was going to happen because I don't think it just was looking like a good fit anymore. But they got a pretty good replacement in Kemba Walker, on a 4-year, $141 million deal. That was really the only notable move that the Boston Celtics made in the offseason. So what's your take on the Boston Celtics getting him and Charlotte losing him?
Well, I mean, for Boston, they kind of saved themselves from embarrassment after they lost. They just pretty much lost Kyrie Irving and not getting anything from them.
Yeah, I mean, also, Boston had a lot after 2017. All those players that got hurt, and getting to the Eastern Conference Finals and being one game away from making the finals, it was looking like they were going to be the favorites to, get to the NBA Finals on the Eastern Conference side. So it was very disappointing to see, just not having a great season, and that was the end result. So for Charlotte, this has just proven that they're one of the most mismanaged teams in the NBA right now. They'd probably be the most mismanaged team if it wasn't for the New York Knicks and the Phoenix Suns. What's your take on that?
I'm just baffled. Like they could have taken Kemba for like some draft picks.
They could have gotten something for him, and they lost him, and they got nothing.
Well, they got Terry Rozier, I guess.
Pretty much the money that they were Kemba could have gotten from the Hornets, they gave it to Terry Rozier for like a less amount of years.
I don't even know why they even signed Terry Rozier. I think that the Hornets should just tank because they have no one in that team that's like. I really don't know. I have no idea what they're going to do.
They're going back to when they were the Charlotte Bobcats.
They have to.
I mean, it just shows how Michael Jordan's pretty cheap. Like, he wouldn't give money to the best player.
I mean,
I don't blame him because if they signed him, they would have been like stuck at. They would have stuck at. Eighth seed though.
I don't think this is Phil Jackson bad as being a front office man, but I think it's Michael Jordan's just proving, even if you're the greatest player or even the greatest coach in a sport, it's not going to mean you're going to be the greatest executive. I mean, look at the Knicks. I mean, they had Jason Kidd, I think it was the Nets actually. They had Derek Fisher as head coaches. Oh, yeah. Not exactly the greatest head coaches. I mean, the only player that's really transitioned well to being a good coach I can think of is Steve Kerr. And he was a bench player and a role player on those Bulls teams, so it's not like he was a superstar like sure. Jordan or Phil Jackson as a head coach. But for Boston, pretty good replacement. For Charlotte, just what the hell, and I think you're screwed for the future. So then we move on to what people think now is the favorite in the Eastern Conference, the Philadelphia 76ers. They handed out a lot of money in this free agency. So they did a sign and trade. They traded Jimmy Butler to the Miami Heat. He got a 4-year, $142 million deal from the Miami Heat. So as Miami's trying to move on from the Dwayne Wade era, the Philadelphia 76ers, they re-signed Tobias Harris to a 5-year, $180 million deal, which is one of the highest out of all the players that got max contracts, other than Klay Thompson, who got $190 million. And they signed Al Horford to a 4-year, $109 million deal. Al Horford's good, but would you say he's kind of overpaid?
Yeah, based on his age.
I mean,
he's a good defensive player, and he can shoot some threes.
I mean, so what are your takes on like Philadelphia and like people saying they're the favorites? I think for Philadelphia, this is the make or breaks year on how they were trying to trust the process for years, and they still haven't made a really, really deep playoff run yet. So, is this the make or break year coming up for Philadelphia?
I think it is. I mean, if they lose, like if they don't win it this year with the lineup they have, what else can you do?
I mean, the issues with the Philadelphia 76ers have been Joel Embiid being, he's not been able to stay healthy. Ben Simmons hasn't been improving, and he's supposed to be, a superstar for them. I mean, Tobias Harris is pretty good, but I don't know if he's worth that much money. I think with Philadelphia, I think they're the number 1 or 2. I think Milwaukee's probably their biggest competition. I can't say it. I can't say it really being the Toronto Raptors or especially after losing Kawhi Leonard, or even the Boston Celtics, because I mean, I think the Celtics are still a playoff team, but I don't think they're the favorite in the Eastern Conference. What's your thoughts on Jimmy Butler going to the Miami Heat, and how much of a fit do you see that being?
I think it's a good fit because he can lead the team on his own.
Mm-hmm.
I think they have a good, solid team around Miami.
Yeah, I think I think at best for them, they could be like somewhere between a 6th and an 8th seed. I think that's a good fit for them. But I think for Philadelphia, the money that you made that you gave to Tobias Harris and Al Horford, you got to make a deep playoff run from this. Otherwise, it's going to be looked as a bust. And Jimmy Butler, I think, is a pretty good fit for Miami if they can add to their roster. So now we're going to just recap some of the other signings and just some quick thoughts on some of these moves. So the Dallas Mavericks, they re-signed after they got Kristaps Porzingis from the Knicks towards the end of the 2019 NBA season. They were able to re-sign him to a 5-year, $158 million deal. The Bucks had a ton of free agents, and they were able to re-sign a couple of them, which is kind of a rarity. It's usually you sign one player and you have to let the other players go, but they were able to re-sign Chris Middleton to a 5-year, $178 million deal. They did lose Malcolm Brogdon, which was, I think, a pretty big loss for them. They lost him to the Pacers, who gave him, I think, a pretty reasonable deal at a 4-year, $85 million deal. The Bucks did re-sign Brook Lopez, though, to a 4-year, $52 million deal, which was, I think, a good deal for him. The Hornets signed Terry Rozier, hoping to be the replacement for Kemba Walker, which we've stated that's probably not going to work out. They gave Terry Rozier a 3-year, I think, $58 million deal. The Phoenix Suns, who have been looking for a point guard for God knows when, they didn't get D'Angelo Russell, they didn't get Malcolm Brogdon, but they did get Ricky Rubio on a 3-year, $51 million deal. And then the Pistons signed Derrick Rose, who had a pretty decent year and looked not too bad with the Minnesota Timberwolves. They signed him to a 2-year, $15 million deal, which I think is a pretty good deal for him. So, starting off with the Mavericks, some quick thoughts. So, what did you think about Kristaps Porzingis re-signing there? Do you think it's a good deal for them?
I say it's. I always say it's kind of a risky move though, because you saw his potential in New York, but he got injured.
Also, I think he had a lot of issues with management, and there's even there's been some off the court issues that he's been experiencing. So, which a lot of people think is the reason that the Knicks traded him. But I mean, we'll see. Do you think it's a risky signing, Durgish?
I think it is, but I mean, yeah, it is because he's coming off a big injury for a big man.
Big man, yeah.
I
think though with Dallas, I think they're looking to be very aggressive and trying to make that next step and be a playoff team. They're trying to rebuild now that they have Doncic and now they have Porzingis after Dirk Nowitzki retired. So
they also have Seth Curry. They added Seth Curry.
He's
pretty good.
Yeah,
pretty good.
He's a pretty good. I think he's a good player to get off the bench.
Yeah.
So the Bucks. What are your thoughts on who they re-signed and who they lost? So they re-signed Chris Middleton and Brook Lopez, but they lost Brogdon. What are your thoughts on that? And do you think the Bucks are still the favorites to win the Eastern Conference now that Kawhi Leonard's out of the Eastern Conference?
Next season, yes, but in the future, no. Because Kevin Durant will be back.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, he could be back. You never know.
Or even this season.
I mean, Kevin Durant, there's reports coming around that Achilles injury, he's going to recover from it quickly than a lot of people anticipate. But I think I think they have a little bit more depth than the Brooklyn Nets right now. But I think, in my opinion, I think they will be the favorites. So then we have, we already talked about Terry Rozier. What are your thoughts on the Phoenix Suns signing Ricky Rubio?
It's a good deal. He's a good player.
I mean, I don't think, it's not the worst deal. It's not the greatest deal either, though. But, for Phoenix, it could have been worse.
They actually have a team now.
Somewhat. The expectation is to hopefully win 30 games. So
that might be difficult because
too high for them
because it's too stacked.
Yeah, as long as you win 25 games.
25 games.
They won 90 games this past season.
Yeah.
Hopefully the more competitive the games don't get blown out.
They're more competitive. Let's go with that.
Yeah, and not get blown out.
Yeah, and then the Pistons, who were surprisingly a playoff team, they're looking to add. They signed Derrick Rose. I think it's a pretty good low risk, high reward deal for them. I think everybody's surprised that Derrick Rose is, the healthiest he's been since 2011. So, what are your thoughts on the 2019 NBA free agency that just happened? I mean, this was one of the craziest in league history and in sports history. So leave in the comments section below. Were there any other signings we didn't talk about? So give your thoughts on those signings. Once again, thanks to Sam and thanks to Dergish for appearing in another video. As always, follow me on Twitter at BaileyLaser96. I just did a first half Major League Baseball video, so you can check that there. The link will be in the description below. As always, click like if you like the video and subscribe if you like the content on my channel. So thanks everybody for watching, and I will see you all later.